What's up, YouTube? It is your girl Latrina, and I am back again today with another tarot spread read. And starting right off in our first row, we do get the community card, along with the throat chakra card in the reverse, as well as the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords. And then we have the message of it is not over until the fat lady sings. And it looks like this situation may be regarding some money, because we do get the some money card exactly as it is written, some money. And it looks like this community is dealing with something regarding some money that they did not mention or speak about. The throat chakras in the reverse. This community has knowledge about some money, and they did not speak on it. They did not share the information regarding this money. That throat chakra card is in the reverse, which tells me someone there, this entire community is not speaking about some money. And it's got something to do with a fast action with this Knight of Sword charging in, this headless horseman. This lets me know that someone had to make a rash decision without, thought. This community made a rash decision without thought, and they refused to speak on a particular matter, about a particular matter regarding some money. Because they say it's not over until the fat lady sings. That's what this community is thinking or feeling, or that's how they are responding to this situation. Someone did in this community, this whole entire community took fast action when it came to something about some money. And then we next have the mature male coming out in the reverse in that second row, along with the patience and planning in the reverse. So see, because that Knight of Sword, he doesn't think before he does take action. So that is why you are seeing this patience and planning in the reverse. And it's coming directly involving a mature male that did not use patience and planning when given this wrong name. And it's actually a situation that has it's made the very ground suffer. It's got them elephants in a tussle, which does create a bad situation for the ground. The very ground is the one that suffers as far as this wrong name given. And it looks like this mature male is also coming out as this King of Wands in the reverse. And then in that second row, we also have the gift card coming out in the reverse, which tells me that something was not received, and it probably has something to do with a gift. a gift that was never given, because you see, they did give the wrong name. This King of Wands in the reverse probably has something to do with a gift that was never given, and words that were never spoken. Also, a gift that was never given, and words that were not spoken about this gift, and about some money that's coming out in the very first row, which is, in my opinion, it is the topic of discussion. It is the topic of the day. It's the topic of the spread, to bring that down to a real. And this community must have had some information about some money, that they did take this fast action towards this money. This community, they took fast action regarding this money that they're not speaking about, because they feel as though it is not over yet, and they feel like the fat lady has not sang her song. So that means it is not over until this community feels like that. This mature male feels the same way, that something is not over, because you see that they did work patiently, and they did plan something regarding a wrong name, and something about this gift. There was a gift that was not received, or not given and not received. And then in this next third row, we do have the main male coming out in the reverse, along with the solar plexus chakra coming out in the reverse. And that speaks of heart, courage, and integrity. That's this, the center of your strength. That solar plexus is where you actually draw your strength from. When it comes to exercising, breathing, walking, living, moving, everything. It pulls from the solar plex. Is where we get our energy, one of our energy centers. And it's looking like this person here, this main male here, he didn't have the courage, the strength, or the integrity even to operate with his solar, if his solar plexus is in reverse. And he's also coming out in the reverse, which means he was, very, very, very much a coward. And he didn't have the courage, or the integrity, or the strength, or the fire that comes from within to actually do anything. Because see, this main male is coming out as a frenemy. And he's also coming out of delusions. I'm guessing some things are being mirrored back to this main male, because this main male did think that this was a foolproof plot regarding this money. And he was inspired, and he was even working hard, working up that sweat with this perspiration card, and with this inspiration and perspiration. And this Seven of Cups comes out also in this third row, and it speaks of delusions. It's the card of delusions. Somebody maybe even using some type of drugs, because this guy is smoking on a pipe here. But it does come out in the reverse. Whenever, you see that in the reverse, it may tell you that maybe this whole entire community is on drugs, and they are delusional. And they refuse to speak about this money, and they actually refuse to even give this gift, probably to whomever this rightful owner is, or to whomever this gift is supposed to be going to. This whole entire community is withholding some money and a gift from someone, and it may be you. And it's something that they did have. Now they've lost their patience, and all their plans have even been thwarted. The plans have gone downhill. They've gone south. These plans that they had worked patiently on. This King of Wands worked patiently on these plans. And even, this mature man is coming out as this King of Wands. Because it's very possible that these could be two different characters. This mature man and this King of Wands. But with them coming out in this same row, it kind of tells me that the mature man is the King of Wands. And he had much involvement when it comes down to this wrong name giving, and something about this money, and something about this actual gift. They patiently plan to give the wrong name when it comes to this gift and this money. And this whole entire community did not speak about the matter. They did not say one word about it. They were all delusional. And they were all frenemies. Everybody in this community, even this main male, is coming out as delusional and even cowardly, because when someone doesn't operate from their center, which is that sacral chakra, or the solar plexus. This is the solar plexus, that's where the energy, comes from. The sacral chakra is that sexual energy, but this is that life force energy that gives you the will, the tenacity, the fire. It comes from your belly, and that's exactly where that solar plexus chakra is. It's located right inside of your belly. It's like right in the center of your being. This main male, he could not activate his solar plexus chakra, which would have given him the courage, and the strength and the integrity to actually come out of these delusions, and he had the strength and he had the ability to bring this whole entire community out of their delusional state. Because, that's Seven of Cups. And maybe, by him coming out in the reverse and the delusions card coming out in the reverse, it just tells me that this guy is completely delusional. Him and this community are all delusional. Even this mature male. Whatever they had patiently planned and worked upon, it didn't even have the fire, that comes from your belly, your center. I don't know how to put it, with that sacral chakra being in the solar plexus chakra is in the reverse upon this main male here. He had no courage and no integrity and no loyalty. When that solar plexus chakra is in the reverse, that means you may not be following your intuition. That means you may just be delusional, because that's Seven of Cups. And maybe this main male is coming out of delusions because he can't, he's seen something in the mirror. I guess something was reflected back to him. that forced him, you know, to drop this delusions. Because next in the fourth row, we have the family room coming out in the reverse. So that's even more individuals that were involved in this plot to, regarding this money and regarding this gift, whatever this gift was. And this gift, now by these two men both coming out in the reverse, also with the King of Wands in the reverse, they patiently planned something to take a gift, you know. They patiently planned on taking a gift. This mature male did. And maybe this gift had something to do with the spiritual abilities or someone's spiritual powers, or their spiritual authority. That's exactly what he actually worked upon taking, even along with this money and this actual and the gift is the spiritual strength that they tried to take. This community tried to take someone's spiritual strength away from them, using probably, trying to affect somebody's solar plexus chakra, where they get their fire and their desire from. That's where the fire and the desire comes from. All your urges and your ambitions and your goals and your dreams, they probably are birthed in that solar plexus chakra. And this whole entire family came together and they did do a little spell work on this situation also. This whole family and this community has been doing spell work. And it looks like that spell work has also come to an end. Whatever kind of spell work they were doing, to try to prevent this gift and this money from being turned over because of this wrong name. They probably gave this money and this gift to this wrong person, to the wrong person. Actually did get this gift and this money. They had no love, when regarding this matter, and they lost their spiritual strength because they were not operating in love. Because it says a fault denied is twice committed. They, continuously did this spell work to try to remove your spiritual strength. This spell work was to try to strip you of your strength and to reduce your power and to actually bring you, down to a smaller version of yourself. But see, this is what they fell into. Infinite love. This is what they didn't apply to their spell casting. This family, they didn't have any love. They didn't have any spiritual strength, while they were working on these spells. And, I'm not sure if someone was weak to the point of death, because we do get the death card that comes out in the same row with that family room. And also with this Nine of Wands, speaking of someone maybe needing some type of protection from these actual community and this whole entire family. That is a large group of people. And then we got a main man and a mature man here. That is a very large group of people that were actually trying to bring someone's spiritual strength to a death, bring an end to their spiritual strength, by doing spell work. That's what this family's plan was. They wanted to bring a death to someone's spiritual strength. And they wanted to prevent them from actually attaining this money and this gift. Or maybe this gift was the spiritual strength, that they were trying to attain. They were trying to steal it using spell work. And then next in our fifth row, we have the change card in the reverse. They refuse to change. They refuse. And it's left them with no hope, because we get that hope card coming out in the reverse. Hopeless. And they're even at a loss prevention stage, which says it's a good breakfast but a bad supper. So hope. Oh, wow, look at that. This hope card comes out together. They said they're hoping for a breakfast and had a bad supper, and then they don't have any hope in this card here. And for it to come out in the same root row is just amazing. It's amazing. And then the chariot twice, because here's this chariot right here coming out right in that same row, along with the change card. It brings the chariot in with it, but this chariot is in the reverse. So that means, that something has ended with that chariot, because now we next have a judge popping up on the scene in the reverse, which this judge has left him hopeless. But by him coming out in the reverse, maybe he lost his hope for any progress, regarding this matter and this, judicial matter. And because in our last row, we do get the main female coming out in the reverse. So that just goes right along with all these people. We got 2 men, 1 woman, we got a community, and we have the family that all worked upon this plot, to bring a death to your spiritual strength. That's exactly what your family wanted. They didn't want you to have any spiritual strength. They was hoping that you didn't have any spiritual strength. But see, your spiritual strength comes from infinite love. And infinite love and gratitude is what actually gives you the strength that you carry. And then we got the 2 of sword and the 3 of sword coming out in the same row. The 2 of sword and the 3 of sword. Now these cards were extra, because they flopped out, and usually I line one up in a row. But I kept them because I felt like they were just as important as the one that did go down in the row. I usually take the one that they pop out. And so you know exactly what card to line up, But when you get 3 of them that pop out, either you can put them back, or you can actually choose one of the 3 or take all of them. And so lately, I've been just taking all of them. Anything that hits the floor, I take it and I put it right on the spread. So that's how these came out, because they did pop out with, one of the rows. But it's the 2 of sword, which does speak of somebody being blind. And then this 3 of sword, which does speak of heartbreak. And this is regarding this main female. And also, she gets the widower card in the reverse. So, that means she may be working with her partner and her spouse. And I want to almost think that she may have lost her spouse or her partner, because we get this death card also coming out in the spread, Widower and death, they both kind of, measure up to the same thing. Maybe she lost a spouse. Or maybe she's about to lose a spouse. Maybe this hasn't happened, in the present day. And then we have this crown chakra also coming out, right, with this this main female, whom she's showing up as a widower in the reverse. So maybe she's on her way to being a widow. Maybe her husband is sick, That's what causes her to be a widow. And she couldn't see because she wasn't coming from her crown chakra. Her crown chakra was in the reverse. So that would definitely make someone not able to see. And then this Two of Sword tells me that, she couldn't see because these people have a blindfold on in that card. And whatever she didn't see, I guess maybe she didn't see that her husband, was going to pass or leave her and leave her a widow. Maybe he didn't die. Maybe he just left her, or maybe he's facing death. Either way it goes, it did bring her into heartbreak. This main female coming out in the reverse, and it left her feeling like a widow. Now she's a widow, She's a widower in the reverse, even, And it probably had something to do with this judge, Maybe there was a judgment called upon this Chariot, these actions that were taken. And whatever actions that this judge took, it just stripped every bit of hope that they had for their, plans and their future plans to take somebody's spiritual strength and put it to an end. They wanted to do that. This whole community did. Whoever was working with this main male, this mature male, and even this female, this main female coming out here in this very last row. There's been a death. There's been some judgment called upon this community and upon this family for trying to steal your spiritual strength, or just trying to put an end to it. And probably they didn't have it, their spiritual strength has ended. They put an end to their own spiritual strength with this death card and then this spiritual strength coming out. Someone has lost their strength. And probably because of this spell work is what actually stripped their strength in their spiritual rank. It's been a topic that's been going on for at least a week or two. Someone actually getting demoted from their spiritual rank. This whole entire family and this community that collaborated and worked upon some things with this judge. I'm assuming that this judge was even in on the take, by him coming out in the reverse with the Chariot. This judge comes out with the Chariot, and he's even left hopeless for breakfast and dinner. And I'm assuming this judge didn't change something, that he was supposed to. He was supposed to change something and he didn't. This judge.